All right, guys. I'm here with Scaro.
Matthew C. Scaro.
Matthew C.
Libertarian for Illinois governor, and absolutely exhausted after an awesome convention this year.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Hey, we do still have a couple of live watchers. If you're watching this on the archive, I do want to preface, it's like 10:45 at night. We've been up all day doing all the things, and it's just been, we had a bunch of delays with the scheduling and everything, and so we're all super tired. I'm really tired. I don't know if you guys saw, I just interviewed Larry Sharp, and I was like, I'm exhausted. I'm like dry as a bone. I've been trying to pound water. It's terrible.
No, it was an awesome convention. And by the way, I wanted to say thank you for live streaming my speech. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And that archive is going to be out there. Like I said, I'll be sending you the links to it. If you need that footage or whatever, we'll get that to you for your campaign purposes. So, Matt, real quick, because, and again, we're doing this a second time because I did have an audio issue on my side. My setup wasn't really right. Matt, tell people your background and just your background.
Yeah, sure. So I'm an entrepreneur in my private life. I own a small business. I do online marketing. I have, like I said in my speech, I've hired people, I've fired people. I do know what it means to manage a project. I've been a libertarian for a little over a year now. I've been quite active in the party. I'm a member of the Chicago chapter. I campaigned for Claire Ball. I campaigned for Kent McMillan. I was on the Gary Johnson team. I was the Illinois events coordinator. And yeah, I'm a graduate of Columbia here in Chicago. And totally just down for the Libertarian Party, all about personal freedom, personal responsibility, and self-ownership.
All right, great. I mean, that's a pretty good background. I mean, I will say it's going to be, one thing that in my mind already sets you apart from perhaps some of the other candidates is that you do have that track record of some activism as well. Last couple candidates, Lex Green, awesome activist before and after, but mixed results in other areas with some other gubernatorial candidates. Yeah, so I mean that's great, and I think that's going to relate to the other activists in the party. You did say you've been a libertarian for about a year. What brought you to libertarianism? Obviously you're in maybe self-identifying as something else before. What did it for you? What brought you over to the party?
Yeah, sure. I am a recovering Republican,
Sure.
And what brought me over to the Libertarian Party? Well, so originally, years ago, I had a guy who worked for me, and this was during the it's late. 08 or 012, and I was talking about how I was going to support the Republican candidate, and he said, well, why wouldn't you support Ron Paul? And
right.
I didn't know who Ron Paul was. I had no idea. And years later, for whatever reason, I did a Google search on Ron Paul, and I found this video called "This Video Changed My Life." And really, the title could not have been any better because that's exactly what it did. And I started to research all of the issues that he had talked about, and I came to the conclusion that I wasn't a Republican, I was a libertarian. Yes, I was fiscally conservative. I did not hate gay people. I had always considered myself a Republican, but I totally did not support the war on drugs, and I didn't support our foreign interventionist policy. So that was kind of like a coming-of-age moment for me. I realized I was a libertarian, and from that moment on, I was all in, man. So.
Yeah. That feeds into two things that Larry talked about tonight. One of them being that you had an encounter that didn't convert you immediately.
Yeah.
There was a sort of delayed reaction for whatever reason. You wanted to investigate, whatever that person had said further at a later date. The other thing being, that recent converts are perhaps the most zealous outreach, type of people. So that's really interesting. That like you're walking proof of two of the things that Larry said. It's almost like the dude knows what he's talking about. I don't know.
Yeah, he's awesome. I just wanted to kind of maybe I shouldn't even talk about this, but so the Ron Paul thing, the reason I researched Ron Paul, even though he had been mentioned to me years ago, was another friend who was talking about politics, and he was asking my opinion, and I said, I'm not political. I don't have any political opinions. And he said, well, you better, or someone will blank you in the blank. And so I said, okay, well, that was what made me go online, and I was like, okay, I'm going to look up this guy, Ron Paul.
Obviously, I don't want that to happen, so
Yeah,
I better figure this out.
Not by force, right? I mean, if
Right.
it's voluntary, that's what you want to do. God bless.
man.
And that's what got me. That's what got me into Ron Paul. And I do feel like he was probably the greatest candidate in the last century, maybe. So
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, I mean, very very principled, obviously. So being a guy with an affection for the message of Ron Paul, of course, that's going to be good. I mean, a lot of people out there were turned by Dr. Paul over to libertarianism. Mixed results as far as them, sticking around or whatever. But what can you do? History's history.
yep.
All right, so you've been active with Chicago for a while. Chicago LP.
Yep.
Did I
Chicago
get that
LP.
right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. Good. Your home's in Chicago.
I live in Chicago. That's right.
Do
Yeah.
you live in Chicago? All right. So, what's your kind of message for downstate voters? One of the things that we have, I think all three of our candidates are from Chicago, so this might be an unfair question. But downstate, we're constantly hearing, when we're promoting our candidates, is this person from Chicago?
Yeah.
I promise you that is the first and foremost. And I don't know why, because all of the politicians and their parties are from Chicago also. So I don't know why we get that question. But what's your message to downstate voters, the people that we're going to be interacting with down in the Metro East, when we're out campaigning for you? And I have heard you do have plans to come down our area. We're going to set up some events for whoever the nominee is going to be. What do you want to tell people that outside of the nucleus, 62% of the people? What about the rest of us?
Well, I want to say, I hear you. I know exactly what you're saying. So it's almost a tale of two states with Illinois. It's Chicago, and then it's the rest of the state. I mean, it's a primarily red state, and I'm not a Republican, but I am fiscally conservative, and I think that I think a lot of people down south are going to identify with that. The tax burden that Illinois citizens have to face is what's causing this migration out of the state. Also the regulations. What we need to do is to create an environment where we can bring more business back into the state of Illinois, where we can bring back in more residents. So from down south, I want to say that I will not be increasing the state income tax. So I think that's a net positive that people can get around, and I want to eliminate the burden as much as I can on them, especially if people want to start small businesses.
Yeah, I mean, Illinois definitely is not a business-friendly state. And you said, as you said, you have a business in Illinois, and so obviously you're seeing some struggles with that, the regulatory burden, compliance, all that kind of
Sure.
stuff. One of the things, obviously, we just got through the consolidated elections, and the drum that I've been beating is that we have the highest property tax in the nation. We have a decent. We're not highest in income tax, but we have one, and the fact that we have it along with the highest property tax, we have higher property tax than any other state that does not also have an income tax as well. And
I think we have the second highest property tax, if I'm correct. But Chicago, I'm almost positive, is the highest property tax.
There is one county in New Jersey
Okay.
that has higher property taxes than what we have in Illinois.
Okay, yeah.
And, I mean, it's New Jersey.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
it's when you think about high taxes and stuff, what do you think? You think the Northeast.
Right.
Right. So we're here, we're doing our thing, and we think, oh, all those people that live in the Northeast, they're paying all the high taxes. No, we're paying it here.
Right. You are.
And we have all the crappy laws and high taxes of California, and none of the great geography and great weather. So, actually, I do like the geography here. That's kind of a joke. So the highest property taxes, some people have been calling for a property tax freeze. I'd like to see a property tax reduction. What do you think? What's your plan for balancing, reduction in taxes, budget crisis that's ongoing today, looming pension crisis, that's a real thing, $190 billion underfunded, across the state. It's the biggest bubble that nobody's talking about. What is your message for people? How is Matthew C. Scaro going to address those issues?
Okay, so a few things. Number one, yes. I think the average property tax in the state of Illinois is $6,800, somewhere around there. It's pretty darn high. However, it's also important to understand that the state of Illinois does not collect any property taxes. That's a municipality thing. So
yeah, that's done at the counties.
Yeah,
the county
exactly.
treasurer collects that.
Right, and so it is something that needs to be addressed, though. And as governor, if I don't have the power of the pen, I will have the power of the bully pulpit, and I will do everything I can to make sure that these property taxes do not go up. Because, like I said, it's driving people out of the state of Illinois. Now, as far as the budget, yeah, pensions are number one. We need pension reform. Here's the core of the pension issue is that, obviously, yes, it's an unfunded liability. Promises have been made that cannot be kept.
Right.
And the pensions, there is a clause in the Illinois Constitution that guarantees them. This has gone to the Illinois Supreme Court. So I'm going to need some of the legal minds from the Libertarian Party to help me with this so that we can help to. The important thing is that the people who have worked in the state of Illinois and are guaranteed a pension get a pension. I want them to get something, and maybe this isn't the most libertarian thing to say, but, to tell people, someone has to be honest with them and say this is insolvent, that it will be bankrupt if we don't do something. Also important to understand is that when we talk about the pension crisis, it's not just one pension. It's a compilation of pensions. I think there's 5 or 6 pensions.
Yeah, that's right. It's not, and it's not only state level workers. If I'm understanding, it's also county level and below.
It is. That's right.
Well.
That's absolutely right.
And there are varying levels of funding percentages amongst the county, amongst municipal employees.
Right, and some of them are much better funded and much more solvent than others.
Yeah.
The biggest one obviously relates to education, and that's the one that needs to be addressed. So, I'm gonna need the help of the libertarians across the state, but this is what I am focusing on, and that's just one portion too, right? So, welfare, Medicaid, these are massive expenditures. Again, these are things that I don't support a welfare state, but at the same time, I do believe that there needs to be safety nets for the disabled, for the elderly, and I don't think I'll be elected if I talk about abolishing these things. So,
well, yeah, I mean, it may not be the most libertarian position to say that we're going to continue the social safety nets and things like that. F.A. Hayek did right, and a lot of people, that is perhaps the issue that people have with F.A. Hayek, is that he did believe in social safety nets. He did believe that there was a reason for government. And I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, I'm
to constrain it. But.
Maybe I believe in minimal government. Okay.
Sure. So you're like a minarchist, not anarchist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, man. Like, that's fine. So, back to the pensions. I think one of the fears that people have in Illinois is that that we're going to directly pay taxes to have to make up for this money. Previous governors, I know that Blagojevich, or how do you say that guy's name?
Blagojevich?
That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Steve Dutner ends the DMV, he's going to be bored. He's not going to have any license plates to stamp anymore.
Steve Dutner's not going to end the DMV. He's going to privatize the DMV.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I
right.
mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but then we'll get our license plates from China instead of prisoners.
Maybe,
because it's probably cheaper.
I told Steve I'm going to get even with him for beating me in Jeopardy. I'm going to defund the DMV, but that's not actually true. I'm not really going to do that, folks.
We're having a bit of fun. All right. What was I even saying? Oh, we're gonna directly. No, I'm really tired. I'm gonna get off on tangents.
It's okay.
That we're gonna directly pay taxes just to make up for. This almost taxation in Illinois is going to become just like Social Security, where we're going to pay it, and then that money is going to go directly to retirees because their pensions are busted.
Well, that's what's happening right now. Over 25% of the tax dollars goes directly towards the pension system.
Oh, wow. Okay. And that's not current contributions. That's actual payments. Payments out to retirees.
25% of the general revenue, which is just over $35 billion, goes directly towards the pension system.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, I'm not 100% certain right now on the allocation of those funds.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't have the numbers. I'm not trying to pin you down on the numbers. But, yeah. So, and you mentioned education. I mean, there was that graphic that came out from Illinois Policy recently that showed that there's a multitude of people retired from the education system that are receiving six-figure per year pensions.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I think your average taxpayer would love to earn that in their job, let alone as a retirement benefit. It's unheard of.
Yeah. So, absolutely. I mean, we have people who are retiring in their 50s who are earning pensions well over $100,000. And, and they're going to live till they're 85 and they're going to collect over $10 million. I mean, look, this is a burden.
Most taxpayers will not see $10 million in their lifetime.
No, they certainly won't.
Yeah.
This is an argument that is used way too often. But the truth is that, look, the money should be going towards the kids if it's going to go anywhere, right? I mean, that's where, if we're going to take money from taxpayers,
right,
and that's where it should go. I think it's a broken system when we have some of the highest property taxes and we have some of the lowest education output. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell me that equation, there's something wrong there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but as you said, again, as a governor, you're not going to have direct influence over that. Just a more state budget. But yeah, I mean, we see eye to eye on those things. So, what other type of issues do you think that you're gonna emphasize during your campaign? Obviously, when you run a campaign, a lot of what we've tried to do in the past is you have like 3 major issues that you're campaigning on. Have you put a lot of thought into that yet, and where do you think you are with that?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm trying to be multifaceted. I really am. I want to be a well-rounded candidate, and I definitely want to see full legalization of marijuana.
And the drug war, at least for marijuana.
At least for marijuana. I mean, I would love to end the drug war, and that would end the violence, right? But we need to end the drug war on a national scale, and until all drugs can be sold in retail outlets, there's still going to be a black market, and there's still going to be violence inherent with that. But we could start with marijuana, right? And once we see the proof of concept from marijuana, like in Colorado, where they have marijuana tourism, and it's an economic plus, maybe the people will begin to understand that incarcerating people for victimless crimes is morally wrong, and that there is an economic plus to ending that type of prohibition.
Yeah, I mean, like what you said there. I'm wondering how, and this is getting off on a tangent, how do you think that ending marijuana prohibition and decoupling, getting people to see that a victimless crime, in my opinion, it's immoral to go throw somebody in a cage for being in possession of a plant that, or a flower of a plant or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I don't want to do marijuana myself. Very recently I had to take a medication. The doctor prescribing this medication. He said, I want you to try this. And it made me like really high, right? I don't have time for that. And so I'm definitely not going to go out of my way. I mean, I quit taking it. I'm not going to get on this. It has weird side effects, but so for people that are like, well, I'm gonna take this mind-altering substance, like I'm not on board with that. But at the same time, I don't think you should be thrown in a cage because that's what you're doing. Do you think that that'll have a bleed-out effect to other victimless crimes as people begin to realize this? In marijuana prohibition, we start to make that moral argument that if you're not hurting somebody else.
Yeah, I would hope. Right. I would think that especially in Chicago, we would have learned the lesson of prohibition and all the violence inherent with it.
Yeah, there's some like majorly powerful violent gangs that were enabled by alcohol prohibition.
Yeah, and I don't use cannabis. I don't even drink. I probably need more vices, but yeah, obviously I don't view putting people in jail for victimless crimes as morally correct. I don't support the drug war. However, during my tenure as governor, I think we need to focus on moving towards a more free society, and that's why I'm focusing on marijuana first, because I think that the public is ready for that. And,
sure.
And maybe once we see proof of concept, then we can go farther.
Yeah. It's interesting you hit on that, because there are people that make the argument that the tide is obviously turned on marijuana. The majority of people want to see legalization. I do think a lot of people want to see legalization along with taxation and regulation, which I don't know. It would quit putting people in prison, I guess. I'm for it, but I'd like to see, Anyway, I don't like the package. Okay,
I'm with you.
So,
with you.
Right.
But I would, the bill that the Democrats have proposed, which I believe it puts a $50 tax per ounce on growers. I would sign it in a heartbeat as a governor, because it moves us more towards a free society. So it's a step in the right direction. No, it's not perfect.
Sure.
I don't love it either, but I'll take it, man. And I would sign that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. But and then the rest of the argument is, you can't have people doing heroin all over the place, and we have this opiate crisis. Well, the data is showing that marijuana legalization does alleviate the opiate crisis.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is, people are getting the heroin. It's not like we're being any kind of effective in preventing heroin distribution.
When we talk about the drug war, I think it's important to also understand the cost that's incurred, right? So if we arrest someone for using a substance, they haven't hurt anyone else. They've just used a substance. Now they go to jail. That costs taxpayer dollars. Now they get out of jail. Now they have a felony on their record. Now they can't get a job. Now they go on welfare. That costs taxpayer dollars. Now maybe they go back to jail. And it's a cyclical system. And to be quite honest with you, I do think it also preys on certain socioeconomic communities. And that's why I want to see an end to the drug war. But let's start with marijuana.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah, I mean, and so for our area, it might be a tough sell. We have to figure a way to message this. We do have a poor community in the Metro East, obviously East St. Louis. It's a very disadvantaged community. The schools aren't very good. There's not a lot of business there. The drug war there is a problem. It is devastating that community.
Well, if you don't mind, Metro East, I believe you guys, it's like 75% of an agrarian society, if I'm right. There's a lot of agriculture there, right? Let's get you guys growing some marijuana. I think you guys would be really happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, when you drive through towns in the Metro East, there are literally farm and soybean fields like in between the shopping centers. Yeah, that's absolutely a fact. And yeah, if we had, as a gentleman that spoke earlier today from the Medical Cannabis Alliance, I forget the name of the organization, but as he was saying, there's a movement to legalize hemp in this state as an industrial product.
Okay.
That would be great. Give people something to grow that they can profit on. That should help the farmers anyway.
Help a lot of things.
It'll help a lot of things.
Deforestation too.
Yeah. Oh, right, exactly. But back to East St. Louis, they have a higher per capita murder rate than Chicago does.
Yeah.
It's very, the violence is a problem, and I really do believe it's the drug war that's devastating that community. And we've got to bring that message to them.
It absolutely is, and it's not right that the government is the only authorized drug dealers. Right, only big pharmaceuticals are the ones that are allowed to sell heroin light, OxyContin.
Oh, I thought you meant the cops actually literally selling street drugs, which actually did happen in St. Clair County.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that was a big scandal. It was weird. There was a judge that was caught. He got relieved for he got caught up in some kind of cocaine deal or something. I don't know. Anyway. So drugs are a problem, but I think you're right. The consensus has changed on marijuana legalization. Cash Jackson had hit on earlier that he would like to see a repeal of the FOID card. I'm not trying to pitch you against what he was saying. What are your thoughts on the gun rights in Illinois, and what you'd like to see doing that? It kind of plays into the violence thing as well.
I think I'm going to quote Austin Peterson and remind people that the reason that we have the Second Amendment is for hunting.
It's for hunting?
Hunting tyrants.
All right. Man, dude, you could have set the hook on me right there. I was like, what, Austin Peterson said that? That doesn't sound like Austin Peterson. All right. Yeah, that's good. All right. So, obviously we just got concealed carry licensing here. It didn't devolve into the Wild Wild West like everybody said it was going to.
By the way, the Wild Wild West was not very wild. That's another myth.
Yeah, it is another myth. Actually, the irony of the Wild West is that it did get wild as like federal marshals and stuff moved into the Wild West. Like before the government took to the frontier, everything was actually really good.
Yeah,
the people set up their own sort of rule of law, and it was spontaneous order was alive and well. It's really kind of an irony that we have to actually fight that.
I personally hate guns, but I absolutely I will uphold the Second Amendment. I just had an experience with a gun earlier in my life that makes me have a healthy fear of guns. However, I will do nothing that will abridge or restrict the rights of citizens to bear arms. Absolutely nothing.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, obviously, if you had like a personal experience, especially early on, it's gonna be a tough one.
It's like me. It's me, the individual. I choose not to use cannabis either, right?
Yeah, but sure.
And I also choose not to participate in whatever. This is just my voluntary choice.
No, absolutely. There's plenty of. Oh yeah. There's plenty of libertarians who make that choice.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Especially people who live in like bigger cities. And Chicago is a big city. I know some New York libertarians I listen to on their podcast. Yeah, they don't own firearms. But they're on the outside looking in the gun culture, but they're like, yeah, we need to have it. The freedoms.
Chicago has some of the most restrictive gun laws and also one of the highest murder rates.
Yeah, and you guys have a problem too on the like public transportation. I mean, there's violence associated with that. Yeah, well, that's good. All right. Like this interview kind of turned out, we're just kind of having a conversation. Like I say, it's really late. I would like to get more of something where we're just nailing down issues and stuff. I think we're kind of past that at this point in the the convention. But Matt, your mic, your message to the people of Illinois. I know you've done some speeches at the LP Chicago events, and that stuff's obviously available on LP Chicago Facebook page. People that haven't heard from you, or that may be watching this in the future, what do you want them to know about Matthew C. Scaro?
That I have no intention. I don't necessarily even want to be governor. I don't like the idea of governing any individual. My role as governor will be to govern the government. All
right, be an advocate for the, for freedom in government. Also, you don't want to be the government, but what's your goal in this election if you receive the nomination?
My goal in this election is to provide a balanced budget. It's to provide an electable candidate that the people can get behind. I want to make sure that the people see the Libertarian Party as a viable option. And I think that's what I present. I want to be well-rounded, well-spoken, charismatic, and I want to win. That's what I'm here to do.
All right, guys. Victory is the goal. We're not talking about 5%. We're going to put the Libertarian Party on the map. It's about a year, maybe more, until the nominating convention, so I'm sure we'll be hearing from you more between now and that time. And I wish you the best, man. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. All right, guys, I'm going to pack up and sign out, and I appreciate you guys watching.